4 trades total, but it did pay nicely. And I don't know if anyone's in SPY options. I'm still in those, actually. I swung them, but see what happens tomorrow. So with that being said, all right, so I'm just going to kind of zoom out where we were, right, on some of the levels that we had and where we rejected. So starting at the top, right, so we talked about this level, right, the red zone. If they're able to crack that, then ultimately we're targeting about 61.15 in the upper zone. The monthly clouds that you guys would have, some of you have, well, all of you should have indicators on, I would say, on TradingView. Those indicators were showing you that the top is probably in, right? And even Drew mentioned a few times the monthly cloud was closed with a really negative closure. It was about negative 15. And then, of course, I mentioned a few times this 57 level. If you're able to go below it, and then the retest that happened here overnight today, I would say at 12, what is this, noonish. Overnight, they also had the retest last night. Today they came, they got rejected. And then if you guys go back, I believe it was Monday night we talked about, right? Prior week value area low was what we were targeting. Does that ring a bell to most?
Yeah.
All right,
Yep.
so let me kind of just show you what I'm talking about. Let me see if I have. Yes, and we're gonna delete this one. This is old. So let's just go on 65 minutes for a second. We don't need this. We don't need the TPO. All right, so here's this, right? And, we mentioned this last time, the value areas were really tight, right? And then a lot of port structure were set up. So right now, if they do reclaim this level, right, what is the market telling you in the longer picture? So let's say 64 or so. Maybe it's slightly different on value on this one. I thought it was a little lower. Yeah. So this level, we'll call it 60 or so. So you see what happened, right? We went below this value and then we had a bounce, right? And then the most important thing you have to pay attention to was this bounce met with a lot of buyers. Was there a lot of access or not? Either way, we dipped below it and we found some buyers. So now ultimately, if you guys look at this price action today, I also mentioned a few times that this is a very critical level for price to continue down, right? And that was the prior week POC, and that's what we had on our charts marked here. I'm just going to reference back and forth so you guys can kind of follow, which was the 906 zone. And if you guys remember on the monthly time frame, right, that was also a level. It was a little bit higher, I believe. So we'll check here, go on 8 hours. It was slightly higher at one point for the developing POC. I think it was 13 at one point, and it's about 1275 now. So it shifted slightly down. But nonetheless, that was the zone that was really critical, right? So now when you look at this, if the bulls are able to reclaim this level, right, what do you guys think happens then? So
A retest of that POC.
now I would say there's a very high chance that, for me personally, I'm going off of these levels. I don't know how I got 60 here, but if you're able to reclaim this 67 level, let's say we reclaim that overnight. Let me see. So we're above it now. If you're able to reclaim that level, there's a very high chance that we're going to go back to 906, right? So that's something I would watch out for, especially during the cash open. Can we hold this area or not? If you're able to hold this area right here, then most likely we're going to go and drag along to 906, right? Let's say we open and we lose this level. Well, that would mean that we're rejecting out of this value, right, out of the 2-week value, and then we are most likely going to seek buyers lower, right? The monthly VWAP sitting at 797, so not a bad target below. And then ultimately yearly VWAP is somewhere around 56 right now. And if you guys remember, our yearly VWAP was here plus the monthly VWAP, so monthly shifted quite a bit. So the next target would be about 800. And what I typically do when I look at this, right, if I go in 30 minutes, I want to see if there's any value areas that I should be aware of where we rejected, right? And what I mean rejected is that we did not like the value, right? We tried to go inside here, and then you see that we had a short cover rally higher. So typically what I'd like to know is where's this value here that I should be aware of. So about 827, probably not a bad level to have. And then you guys see that you will have some single prints that you should be aware of here. Let's see, starting at 806 and then all the way down to whatever this number is, 771 and then 750. So these will be the levels that you want to watch below, right? If they can't hold this level, most likely then we're going to go lower to this level. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
On the daily TPO, there's something pretty clear. Did everybody take a look at it?
Separation of value.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice separation of value. So I'll bring it up here so you guys can see it on this. And what the weird thing is here, you guys see how the value is still staying high up here. Is there any critical levels you guys would pay attention to on the weekly like VP here?
Well, that value very low recovery.
Okay. What about, would this level matter at all?
Yeah, definitely. It's the start of the gap.
Low.
And
Framing down.
yeah, and this would be our weekly framing down if you're able to go below it, right? So that means, of course, on the daily, we are framing down for sure now. I would say we had kind of like a triple distro. We were framing down on the daily, right? But now if you look at on the weekly, even if we close somewhere around here, that puts a lot of pressure. Then it can be a little bit, trappy, right? Where they can do something like this, and then you stay in a 2-week balance. You kill the shorts here, you kill the bulls here, and then you just continue trading, right? So until we see, what happens at this level, and I'm pretty sure we're going to test it here sooner or later, maybe tomorrow. Don't get too excited shorting here at the bottom, especially at these major VWAPs here that we have. I wouldn't be the one initiating a short here. Maybe you can cover some of the shorts that we took from the top on SPY and close them here and then see how it behaves. On the daily, so if you guys look at here, I'm going to hide these candles. You guys will see that there's a really, really nice separation of value, right? So if we go here, this is your zone, right? So if the bulls, let's say they're able to reclaim that level that we just talked about, call it 67, 65. If they're able to reclaim that, there's a very high chance we're going to go here. And what would be your first instinct here if you're trading?
Close along.
Short, maybe.
Say it again.
Short.
Close along.
It'll be, you can close the long, but this becomes a pretty good short too, right? You're at I would say probably at the 2-week POC, we can see, where is it? So that would be your 2-week POC as well. When you're retesting from the bottom, right in the split. So if you think about 50% fib, so it should be somewhere in this zone as well. So a little bit lower. So 96. So this zone becomes, I would say, pretty interesting for a short. So I would look to see if I can short that in this area on the first stop if they do offer it tomorrow. If we see that they crack this through with a lot of ease, then I wouldn't be surprised, that they go towards 930. That would be probably a final target for tomorrow. If they're able to reclaim the 67, like somewhere around here, go to 908, crack that, then this would be my final target for tomorrow. And then if they close in the high end tomorrow, meaning above POC closer to the value area high, then you're ultimately targeting 5975, right? We're still in the balance. Don't get too excited, right? Don't make a lot of bear choices, right? Especially as we arrive here, there can be a lot of traps in this area here. there's a gap below, right? You have a monthly VWAP here, yearly. They can trap a lot of shorts tomorrow here. So please pay attention to tomorrow, at least to this. See if they lose it, reclaim it, and they can at least from 806. You could run this. I would say probably whatever this value is, let's say 48. We will have some clue based on the price action tomorrow. But you will have intermediate levels to take profit, and ultimately you'll be targeting somewhere in the middle of this, which should be 100 points higher. So if they lose and reclaim, it might not be a bad idea to swing something, because I believe Monday we're closed. The market is closed, so it might be a longer weekend than typically those favor bulls lately. So at least that's how I would play it. But let's see what tomorrow brings, and considering if you guys are paying attention to the bonds, the 10-year is doing well. It's almost at 4.6, and the 30 years, I believe, about 5 now. Yeah, so it's at 5, right at 5 right now, and it hasn't been there right since November of 2023. So this is a big deal, right? And if the bonds are right, if that becomes a safety, the money gets pulled out of the stock market, goes there. So let's see how it plays out. But I would think that bonds are going to be outright, and if the bonds are true, then the dollar will take a hit. And that's kind of what seems to be happening here for the dollar as well. So they have to save the dollar or the bonds. I don't know which one. I would think it'll be the bonds, because the banks will fail pretty bad if they don't. Okay. Saturday or Sunday, I will see. But we'll do a stock scan, and then we'll do a class. We'll cover the footprints this time. We covered volume profile last time. If you haven't had a chance, I suggest you watch the video. We'll go over the footprints, help you guys understand it. We'll go cover the delta, cover some of the things that you pay attention to the footprints. Today was, I would say, a pretty clear day when we came at one point to that PVPOC. They also had a lot of orders sitting there initially when they had that bounce. I think early in the morning, it was actually a really nice bounce. Here, let me show you. So this bounce, where was it? Right here. So when they came early in the morning, they offered quite a few points, right? They dragged it all the way from 906 all the way to 957 to value area high, and then of course all the way to value area low. So they did the whole trip today, right? They bounced, came back, and they delivered, right? So we'll keep an eye on this, see what happens tomorrow. As I said, we want to be below this previous week value area low for continuation down, and then we'll be targeting 27,806 and look for some traps in this area right here. Any questions?
When did you say class was?
Either be Saturday or Sunday. I believe it'll be Sunday, 80% sure, but it'll be around 11:30 a.m. Eastern.
Thank you.
Alrighty, guys. Have a good night. We'll trade with you guys tomorrow. So see you then.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
All
Thanks,
right.
Shorty.